It was December 23rd, and Melanie Parker was running out of time. As a single mom juggling 2 jobs, she was desperate to make Christmas perfect for her 8-year-old son, Caleb. Money was tight, but she'd managed to scrape together enough for a few modest gifts. Caleb had been begging for a new bike all year, and though she couldn't afford one, she hoped the other presents would be enough to make him happy. As Melanie walked home from her evening shift, the snow fell in soft flurries, blanketing the streets in silence. Her neighborhood was quiet, save for the occasional flicker of Christmas lights. She clutched her coat tightly against the cold and hurried up the stairs to her apartment building. When she reached her door, she paused. Something was off. A neatly wrapped present sat on her doorstep, covered in bright red wrapping paper and a glittering gold bow. Confused, she looked around. The hallway was empty. She picked up the box and noticed a small tag attached. It read, "From Santa, for Caleb, Merry Christmas." Melanie hesitated. Who would leave this? She hadn't told anyone about her struggles, and she wasn't close to her neighbors. Shrugging off her unease, she carried the box inside. "Mom, you're home!" Caleb ran up to her, his face lighting up when he saw the gift. "Is that for me?" Melanie smiled, though a knot of unease twisted in her stomach. "It looks like it's from Santa," she said, placing the box under their small, twinkling Christmas tree. That night, as Caleb slept, Melanie couldn't shake the strange feeling. Something about the gift felt wrong, but she convinced herself it was just exhaustion. Maybe a kind stranger had wanted to spread some holiday cheer. The next morning, Caleb woke up early, bounding into the living room. "Can I open it, Mom? Please?" Melanie nodded, still wary. "Go ahead." Caleb tore into the wrapping paper, revealing a shiny red toy truck. It was beautiful, with intricate details and wheels that moved smoothly. His face lit up as he played with it, making vrooming sounds as he pushed it around the floor. For a moment, Melanie felt relieved. Whoever had left the gift must have had good intentions. But later that day, strange things began to happen. It started with the truck. Caleb left it on the coffee table, but when Melanie returned from the kitchen, it was on the floor, its wheels spinning on their own. She froze, her heart pounding. "Caleb," she called, "did you move your truck?" He looked up from his drawing, confused. "No, Mom." That night, as Melanie was cleaning up, she heard a faint rattling sound coming from Caleb's room. She opened the door and froze. The truck was sitting in the middle of the floor, its headlights flickering on and off. Caleb was fast asleep, oblivious to the eerie glow. Melanie approached the toy cautiously, her hands trembling. When she picked it up, the lights immediately went out, leaving the room in darkness. She placed it back on the shelf and hurried out, her unease growing. Over the next few days, the disturbances escalated. Melanie would find the truck in strange places, the bathroom, the kitchen counter, even her bed. Once, she woke up in the middle of the night to find it sitting on her bedside table, its headlights glowing faintly. Then came the whispers. At first, they were faint, like distant voices in the wind. But soon, they grew louder. Melanie swore she heard her name being called in the dead of night. Caleb began waking up with nightmares, claiming that Santa was watching him. "Santa's not real, right, Mom?" he asked one morning, his voice trembling. "Of course not, sweetheart," Melanie said, though her own fear was starting to spiral. On Christmas Eve, Melanie decided to throw the truck away. She couldn't shake the feeling that it was the source of the strange occurrences. She wrapped it in a plastic bag and took it out to the dumpster behind their building. But when she returned to the apartment, the truck was waiting for her. It sat in the middle of the living room, its headlights glaring at her like tiny, menacing eyes. Her breath caught. She grabbed Caleb and locked them both in her bedroom, heart racing. She didn't sleep that night, her ears straining for every creak and whisper. Christmas morning arrived with an eerie stillness. Melanie cautiously stepped into the living room, hoping the truck would be gone. Instead, she found a new note lying beside it. "You can't escape the naughty list." Terrified, she grabbed Caleb and decided to leave the apartment. But as they opened the front door, they were greeted by a chilling sight. Standing in the hallway was a figure dressed as Santa Claus. But this wasn't the jolly, cheerful man from the stories. His suit was tattered and stained, his face obscured by a shadowy hood. In his hand he held a sack, and from within it, Melanie swore she saw something moving. "You should have been better," the figure rasped, his voice like the crackle of burning wood. Melanie slammed the door and locked it, grabbing Caleb and pulling him close. The whispers grew louder, surrounding them, as the lights flickered and the air turned icy cold. And then, everything went silent. When Melanie finally opened her eyes, the apartment was empty. The truck was gone. The only sign of their ordeal was a single note left on the coffee table. "Merry Christmas. Better luck next year." Emma stood in the biting cold, clutching her daughter Lily's hand tightly. The snow swirled around them as they approached the old Riverton Mall, its once bright neon sign now flickering faintly. Most of the shops inside had long since closed, but Emma had heard there was still a Santa Claus set up for kids. Lily had been begging for weeks to meet Santa, and Emma couldn't bear to disappoint her. Inside the mall was eerily quiet. Dim fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the few open stores had scattered decorations that felt more sad than festive. Lily's eyes lit up as she spotted the makeshift Santa's workshop in the center of the atrium, complete with a throne, a small Christmas tree, and a red velvet rope to guide the non-existent line of kids. "Look, Mom, it's Santa," Lily exclaimed, tugging Emma toward the setup. The man dressed as Santa was an older gentleman with a long white beard and deep-set eyes. His suit looked worn, the red faded to a dull maroon, but his smile was kind as Lily approached. "And who do we have here?" Santa asked in a deep, jovial voice. "This is Lily," Emma said, forcing a smile. "She's been so excited to meet you." Lily climbed onto Santa's lap, chattering about her Christmas wish, a dollhouse with lights and furniture. Emma watched, her heart aching. Money was tight this year, and even that modest gift seemed impossible. "Don't worry, Mom," Santa said, his eyes meeting Emma's. "Christmas has a way of bringing miracles." Emma blinked, surprised. How did he know what she was thinking? Before she could say anything, Lily jumped off his lap, clutching a candy cane Santa had given her. "Thank you, Santa," Lily beamed. Santa waved as they walked away, his gaze lingering on them a little too long. That night, back at their small apartment, Emma couldn't shake the strange feeling Santa had given her. She brushed it off as exhaustion and tucked Lily into bed. "Do you think Santa will bring my dollhouse?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with hope. Emma kissed her forehead. "We'll see, sweetie. Get some sleep." But sleep didn't come easily for Emma. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the encounter at the mall. Something about Santa's words and the way he looked at them felt off. The next morning, Emma found a small box wrapped in festive paper on their doorstep. Confused, she brought it inside and opened it. Inside was a perfectly crafted miniature dollhouse, complete with tiny lights and furniture. It was exactly what Lily had described. Emma's stomach turned. She hadn't told anyone about Lily's wish, and she certainly hadn't bought it herself. "Mom, is it for me?" Lily's face lit up when she saw the dollhouse. Emma forced a smile. "It looks like Santa came early." But deep down, unease coiled in her chest. Over the next few days, Emma began to notice strange things. Every time she turned around, it felt like someone was watching her. She checked the locks on the doors and windows repeatedly, but everything was secure. Then came the photos. One morning, Emma woke up to find her phone buzzing with notifications. She opened her gallery and froze. Dozens of photos had been taken during the night, all showing her and Lily sleeping. Her heart pounded as she scrolled through them, each one more invasive than the last. The angle suggested the photos were taken from inside the apartment. Panicked, Emma called the police, who found no signs of forced entry. They suggested she might have been hacked or that it was a prank. But Emma knew better. That night, she barely slept, clutching a kitchen knife as she sat by Lily's bed. The following day, Emma decided to return to the mall. She needed answers, but when she arrived, the Santa setup was gone. The throne, the decorations, everything vanished without a trace. She approached a janitor sweeping the floor. "Excuse me, do you know where Santa went?" The man looked at her, puzzled. "We haven't had a Santa here in years. The company that ran it shut down ages ago." Emma felt her blood run cold. "That's not possible. I was here 2 days ago. My daughter sat on his lap." The janitor frowned. "Lady, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you've got the wrong mall." Emma returned home, her mind racing. Who was that man? And how did he know about Lily's wish? As she stepped inside, a wave of dread washed over her. The dollhouse was gone. "Lily," she called, running to her daughter's room. Lily was sitting on her bed, holding a new candy cane. "Mom, Santa was here again. He said he wanted to check on me." Emma's knees went weak. "What do you mean, honey? When was he here?" "Just now," Lily said innocently. "He knocked on the window and said he'd see me again soon." Emma's stomach churned. Their apartment was on the 3rd floor. That night, Emma packed their belongings and took Lily to a motel, her paranoia at an all-time high. She didn't know who or what Santa really was, but she wasn't taking any chances. As they settled into the cramped room, Emma hugged Lily tightly, vowing to protect her no matter what. Outside, the snow fell silently, covering the world in a deceptive blanket of peace. And in the shadows, a figure in a faded Santa suit watched the motel window, his deep-set eyes glinting with an unnatural light. The snow was falling gently as Anna parked her car outside the local Christmas market. Her 6-year-old son, Max, sat in the back seat, his face pressed against the frosted window. This year had been hard for Anna. Ever since her husband passed away, Christmas didn't feel the same. But she wanted to make it special for Max, even if it meant stretching her budget to buy a real Christmas tree. "Mom, can we get the biggest one?" Max asked, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "We'll see," Anna replied with a smile, though she wasn't sure she could afford it. The market was bustling with families laughing and picking out ornaments. A chill hung in the air, but the warm glow of string lights made everything feel magical. Anna and Max wandered through the rows of trees until they found it, a tall, lush pine that seemed to sparkle in the dim light. "This one, Mom," Max said, hugging the tree. Anna hesitated, glancing at the price tag. It was more than she wanted to spend, but the joy on Max's face was worth it. "All right, let's get it." The seller, an older man with a kind face, helped tie the tree to her car. "You're making a good choice," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "This tree will make your Christmas unforgettable." Something about the way he said it sent a shiver down Anna's spine, but she brushed it off. Back home, Max couldn't wait to decorate the tree. Anna pulled out the box of ornaments they had used every year since Max was a baby. They worked together, hanging baubles and tinsel, topping it off with a bright star. For the first time in months, the house felt warm and alive. "It's perfect," Max said, his voice filled with awe. That night, Anna tucked him into bed and kissed his forehead. "Sweet dreams, sweetheart." As she turned off the lights and headed to her room, she glanced at the tree one last time. It stood tall and proud in the corner of the living room, its lights twinkling softly. The next morning, Anna woke to Max's panicked cries. "Mom, the tree is gone!" Anna rushed to the living room, her heart racing. Max wasn't exaggerating. The tree was missing. Not a single needle or strand of tinsel was left behind. Maybe I moved it," Anna muttered, trying to calm herself. But she knew that wasn't true. "Did someone steal it?" Max asked, his voice trembling. Anna didn't know how to answer. She checked the locks on the doors and windows, but everything was secure. Who would break in just to take a Christmas tree? "Don't worry, Max," she said, forcing a smile. "We'll figure it out." Anna decided to go back to the market to confront the seller. But when she arrived, the stall where she had bought the tree was gone. She asked around, but no one remembered seeing an older man selling trees. "That's impossible," Anna whispered, confusion turning to unease. As she drove home, her mind raced. Was this some cruel prank, or was there something she didn't understand? That night, she tried to reassure Max. They decided to make popcorn garlands and hang them around the house as a substitute for decorations. But deep down, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. At midnight, she woke to a soft rustling sound. Her heart pounded as she crept to the living room. To her shock, the Christmas tree was back, standing exactly where it had been before. But it wasn't the same. The ornaments hung in disarray, and the star on top was crooked. The lights flickered erratically, casting strange shadows on the walls. "Mom?" Max's voice startled her. He was standing behind her, rubbing his eyes. "Go back to bed, Max," Anna said quickly. "It's nothing." But as she turned to guide him back to his room, she froze. A faint whisper came from the tree. Anna, her blood ran cold. The next day, she decided to get rid of the tree. She dragged it to the curb, determined to forget the whole ordeal. Max was upset, but Anna promised they'd make their own decorations and create new traditions. That night, the house felt emptier without the tree. Anna tried to focus on wrapping presents, but a gnawing sense of dread wouldn't leave her. At 3 a.m., she woke to the sound of footsteps. She grabbed a flashlight and crept to the living room. The tree was back. This time, it looked worse. The needles were blackened, and a foul smell filled the air. Beneath it, she saw muddy footprints leading to the window. In the dim light, Anna spotted a figure standing outside, the same old man who sold her the tree. "What do you want?" she shouted, her voice shaking. He didn't answer. Instead, he raised a gnarled hand and pointed at Max's room. Anna ran to Max's room and locked the door behind her. She held him close, whispering soothing words as he cried. The whispers from the living room grew louder, more insistent. By dawn, the sound stopped. When Anna finally opened the door, the tree was gone. So was the old man. The next Christmas, Anna avoided the markets and bought a small artificial tree. She didn't want to take any risks, but every so often, on cold, snowy nights, she swore she could hear the faint rustle of pine needles and a gravelly voice whispering her name.